The house I grew up during a large portion of my childhood was built sometime in the 1930s. It was pretty big, which was great for a kid like me who loved to explore. Problem was that all throughout the house I would routinely get this creepy vibe, like as if someone were watching me, or this overwhelming feeling that I wasn't safe and needed to leave particular areas. Now, it could have just been an overactive imagination. Kids are definitely prone to having those. Problem was I wasn't exposed to scary movies or stories as a kid. I think my parents recognized how scared I would get by my own imagination, and couldn't even fathom how bad it would be to actually see or hear something. Still, even as an adult now looking back, there are two particular events which I can't possibly explain as being irrational. Both of them involved the basement, which I'll mention was primarily unfinished. To give a quick layout of it, the basement was accessible through the kitchen or the main hallway, and was adjacent to the side door. It was unfinished, with hard concrete floors, and an area in the back that was mostly dirt. Going down the basement meant you had to take these wooden steps which had probably been there since the 30s. The first incident was on a weekend. My dad and I were sitting in the living room watching NASCAR, and during a commercial break he asked me to get him a beer. Unfortunately for me, he kept his beer down in the basement in this little mini fridge, and I was already kind of scared of going down there. Not wanting to upset him by telling him no, I went for it anyway. Before I even made it to the steps, I was already getting that feeling that I shouldn't go any further, and that I should immediately turn right around, but I kept going on. As I got to the basement steps, that fear continued to grow and grow. You know that feeling you get when you can just tell that someone is staring at you? Like a fifth sense, your spine gets kind of tingly and you have this overwhelming feeling to look at in the direction. That's what I was experiencing tenfold. When I finally reached the bottom of the steps, I was almost completely paralyzed with fear. I slowly turned my head to the left towards where the open dirt area was and said, "Hello?" As soon as I said that, two red glowing orb things emerged from that dark part. I'd say they were eyes, but I can't be for sure. I didn't study them long enough before I ran up the steps as fast as I could. My dad must have heard my running and met me in the hallway, and asked what was going on. I told him about what I saw, and he immediately headed down there. I think he might have thought it was an animal or something, but after a few minutes he emerged with a beer in hand and telling me it was nothing. The second event took place maybe a year and a half later. It was during the summer, and my family and I were outside. Dad, Mom, younger brother, and myself. I had to use the bathroom and headed inside using the front door, as I had refused to use the side door since that previous event. When I went to go back outside though, I had the thought I'd try and be brave, and face my fear. I headed towards the side door, sat at the top of the basement steps, and waited. It didn't take long for me to get those same feelings all over again. I shouldn't be there, something was watching me, I needed to leave immediately. I was truly tired of the fear though. I wanted to be brave and face whatever threat was down there, so I stayed. It didn't take long for me to run though, because as soon as I had made that determination, I saw a shadow paint across the wall opposite of the handrail. It was human, looked male, seemed extremely large. No real fine details, again not enough time, as I immediately bolted out the door. I told my dad about it. This time he seemed a bit more concerned. I didn't follow him into the house, but I did hear him racking his gun before he descended down. Just like last time though, he emerged, nothing to be found. There were other events, but those were the two primary ones. I still have nightmares about that place too. They are always so odd too. Before they involved me being inside the house already and going down to the basement to face whatever was down there. That's ended though, and now I'm always outside the house. The weather is odd, like it's not sure if it wants to be night or daytime. I have this feeling like I need to go in the house and explore it further. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't.
I was about 7, and my brother was 13, and we still shared a room. I was always afraid of the dark when I was a kid. Periodically I would wake up in the night and call for Mom to come and turn on the hall light to be used as a nightlight. much to the enjoyment of my brother. One night in the middle of winter I woke up, and right before I called out for Mom I noticed there was a man on the deck that was on the other side of the wall from our bedroom. I froze. I was totally freaked and tried to scream, but I could only make this high-pitched squeaking sound. The only thing I could do was cry. After what seemed like hours, my dad heard me and came in to see what was wrong. The man was gone, of course, when I told him, and he blew it off as a nightmare until my brother, from under his covers, said that he saw it too. With that, my dad went outside with the shotgun. There were footprints in the snow outside our window and the window of my parents' bedroom. That one took a while to recover from.
I grew up on the central coast of California, and my family would frequently visit Big Sur for camping, hiking, or just hanging out and having lunch at one of the restaurants. I must have been about 7. Old enough to visit the bathroom independently, but still rather new to the freedom of walking around somewhere that wasn't my neighborhood or the woods alone. I went into the bathroom at a restaurant called the River Inn, and there were 3 stalls, 1 handicapped, and 2 regular. All but one of the stalls, a regular one, were taken. I distinctly remember looking under the doors for feet, because I was a little kid, and for whatever reason preferred the handicapped stall. I saw no feet, but the doors were locked. Whatever. I went into the one open stall. There was a huge squid in the toilet. The body had to be at least a foot long, plus tentacles, coiled around the inside of the toilet bowl. It totally filled the available space. Cloudy dead squid eyes, gazing up at me from the pooper. I ran out of the bathroom in horror, told nobody, and held my pee for the 45 minutes drive home. What was that squid doing there? All I can surmise is it was a line cook prank, in an area that ubiquitously has squid on the menu. 25 years later, that terror toilet squid still haunts me.
I was dreaming about cousins in car crashes or a friend's older sister cutting herself, and it all happened within a week or 2. It started to freak me out, so decided to tell my parents. At first, they tried to calm me down, but then they started noticing it and getting freaked out, which only scared me even more. And then one day I stopped dreaming. I haven't had a dream, prophetic or otherwise, since, and honestly it kind of scares me to think about.
All the way into in living room, and stare into a huge mirror we had up in there. I have had an irrational fear of the dark for as long as I can remember, so thinking back on when I used to do this, without hesitation, and stand there for a few minutes staring at myself, I can't help but wonder so many things.